Hey everybody. So end of a long day, but I want to make sure that while it's still fresh on the brain, I can still tell you guys what I did because it actually was a pretty successful day. I felt like, but I did a few things that really helped just kind of work out some of the kinks, both in video, audio, transmission part, and getting some of that stuff organized that really helped things kind of be a little bit smoother than they would have been otherwise. And so, just to kind of give you a, a little bit of the setup here. So we did a virtual camp. I had four techs helping me, um, and before I went to this, before we did the camp, I had all of my Sibelius files uh, on Dropbox. I had PDFs of all of those exercises for the individual instruments plus the full score. And then I also uploaded all of my videos of those exercises to YouTube. So the techs have access to all of the information, or had access to all the information uh, to share in the Zoom, and I'll show you that process here in a second. But I did all that prior to the camp, so that and it's a little bit of legwork, but it was worth it because you'll see what the process looks like here in a second. So, but getting the Zoom part of it set up, we we had everybody in the same main meeting, and we did like a general meeting this morning, and just kind of introduced myself, had the tech staff introduce themselves, had the section leaders introduce themselves, and then while the kids were introducing themselves, I went in and assigned everybody into the different breakout rooms. And so let me show you how that works. But before I get there, um, the breakout room system works really well, and you can assign the support staff there and the students into individual rooms. So my whole goal with that was to keep the room like 7 to 8 kids max. Like that's really what I mean. Like I feel like when I'm on a screen, even for like a small screen, it's really tough to see all of that stuff and really give each kid their attention to detail and give them something to like really go and work on and continue to work on for each of those reps while we're doing it, and give as much information as I can to them. So what I do, I have my computer here and a secondary screen. I have a TV, my old 55-inch plasma TV is sitting up here. But the point is that I had all of my music and stuff, the operational stuff was on the computer, and I had the Zoom stuff up here on my second display, which was very beneficial that I wouldn't have to switch screens and do all this other business. And it was still a little difficult, and I'll tell you my recommendations here on the end of it. But it was a little bit more difficult, but it was definitely helpful. And it also helps recreate the environment that I would normally teach in, where I'm like standing here and kids are playing and doing all other stuff. And they're just, miniature sized versions of it instead of like little bitty things that I'm trying to look at, and it doesn't look very well. So the point is this: the breakout rooms were very helpful. And how we got into those breakout rooms. Before we did all that, I had the students rename themselves. And when you do that, if you look in the video part here on the sides of the screen, when you're in Zoom, they have their little, their picture of themselves, their little video. There's 3 dots. If they click on that, they can rename themselves. And what I did was had so-and-so, Billy Bob Joe Bean playing the paper triangle. Okay. And so that way I knew what section they were in. And so I did auto-generated the breakout sessions into 5 rooms, and then renamed each one of them: snares, quads, bass drums, woods. I did a wood section, and metals. And that worked for me. You of course can do whatever you need to do, but that way I had a way to assign them in the breakout room. The cool thing is you keep the Zoom meeting running from the start of the morning all the way through, and even if the students disconnect and they reconnect, it will automatically reassign them to that room. It did it several times, and there was a few times it kind of got funky, but I think if they stay on the same IP address, for those of you who are savvy enough to know what that is, if it stays on the same IP address, then they should go right back into the same assignment for that room. And so you don't have to go back and reassign them each time, which was pretty cool. Now, let's talk about, I'm going to screen share some of this stuff and talk about some of the setup things I did before. And I sent this out to the kids before we did it, and then I actually had to reinforce it again once we got back into the Zoom stuff. So here, I'm going to open up mine. Zoom stuff here. So first thing is in the Zoom, the actual physical Zoom settings on the student's end. What I did was I went in, they open up their preferences, and this is on a Mac. It looks a little different on the PC, but there you go. But on the phone, there's a few other options too as well, but this is the general things that they need to work to do. And this is to decrease a lot of the processing part of things to maybe help bandwidth and help them get better sounds and you get better video on the same time. So the I mean, of course here I have my speakers. When I did this, if you can look right here, I have my speakers going out to the sound from their Zoom meeting coming out of my speakers on my TV, just because it was easier to sync that kind of stuff. And I'm using my mic for my MacBook. There you go. The other part here, what you want, I had the kids, they're always muted, and then using the space bar to unmute themselves throughout the entire day, unless we're having like a hang where everybody's kind of talking. But under the advanced tab, what you want to do is have each of the students do the suppress persistent background noise, suppress intermittent background noise, and that disable each one of those, and have echo cancellation on auto. Now this is if you wish to have each one of them play, or when you play for yourself, for like that's for me. When I play, there's nothing going to be canceled out. That means the true sound, what's ever happening in my room right now. And like, there's a few video you may watch here. I'm going to show you here a little bit, and you can hear my son in the other room playing marimba. I mean, it just happened. It's not it is what it is in this world. And so under audio, that's what I did there. The second thing I did was under general settings, the use of dual monitor. What this does, it allows you to put the screen that the students are on your second screen, and the controls for your meeting are now on your computer, and you can minimize that and all that kind of business, and it's really helpful. So I did that part. That's on my end. Now the second thing in creating the breakout rooms, it's not a default action, and so you have to go here under the View More Settings tab under General. And what that will do is open up a website. Now, this is not on Zoom's inside of the Zoom application. You have to go to their website, you have to log in, and this will set up your general settings for your meetings. And so if you look here, there's your personal information, profile, meetings, webinars, recordings, and you click on settings, and it opens this tab here on the side. It says meetings, recordings, and telephone here at the top. And what you want to click on here is under in meeting advanced. And so here in the second one down here, it says breakout room. It's not initially enabled, but you will have to enable it. If for whatever reason the remote support here is enabled, you have to disable remote support in order to enable the breakout room. I hope you got that. That's the one big thing that I had to figure out this morning, because I'd never had to do those before. Now the one thing I didn't figure out today, and maybe you will be able to, or maybe I'll do it while I'm sleeping this evening, but the co-host part of it, I was able to make somebody else the host, which was dumb. You need to make other people a co-host, which I couldn't find for the love of God on this part of the website. So I hit Control F and then search co-host everywhere on this page, and for some reason couldn't find it, but I'll probably figure it out this week sometime. But what you want to do is make yourself the host and your tech staff the co-hosts, so they have control to share screen and do all that other kind of stuff. For me, I couldn't find that, and so I had to go up here under the basic in meeting basic tab here, and under screen sharing, I had to let all participants who can share screen, everybody else, and all that kind of stuff, so that the tech staff could do their part in sharing audio, sound, and or video, or whatever tool that they were using to teach. And so those are the two big ones that I had to um, those are the two big ones that I had to enable in here to go back to the meeting. So once you do that and you go back to your meeting, down here on the bottom, it should be somewhere around in here. There's like these four little squares, and it says breakout rooms. Ah, cool. And so under the breakout rooms, I created, so once the kids came into the meeting that morning, when you start the meeting, you have to create the breakout rooms. So it's really easy, and ask you, how many do you want to make? And I said 5. And then how many do you want to do manually, or whatever. I did 5 rooms. You create those 5 rooms. And so what the kids had to do was, when they go up and do that part where they rename themselves and put their instrument next to it, that helped me sort them into the different rooms. So that was a whole lot easier throughout the day. I don't think if you close the room, if you close your meeting, like say you guys are going to lunch and you close your meeting, it will not generate the breakout rooms again. So I would recommend just keep the meeting open from when you start until the last note, so that way they stay the same and you don't have to keep redoing that and then reassigning everybody and re-co-hosting everybody and doing all that other kind of stuff. So the second thing that was really helpful is I used Sibelius. I use Sibelius. You can use video, you can use an audio track, but mainly transmitting just the audio to the students for them to play along with was great, was helpful, very, very helpful. And don't worry about transmitting video unless you're just watching for something. The audio is more than enough. I mean, just give them the it's the closest representation that we're going to get to playing with another person at their home without being with another person. And so to me, to get to that too, you go down to screen share, hit the screen share button. At the top, there's 3 tabs. One that says basic, one says advanced, and the other says files. What you want to do is click on advanced, and the second option here in the middle, it says music or computer sound only. That's the option that you want to select, and there you go. That's the one that I use. And so what I would do is, just select that option. And so everything that comes out of my computer right now, it's going to go to the students. And if you have a Mac, the do not disturb button up in the right-hand corner is very helpful from not getting text messages, dings and dongs and all that other kind of stuff. So so what I would do is just open up Sibelius, set the track, set the placement, however many repeats that I wanted for it, and then we would play. And all that kind of stuff. And I was able to sit here and operate Sibelius going along the way, and then step back and evaluate the kids. So I'm going to show you a video right now, kind of like of our process of what we did. But throughout that whole time, it took a little while, kind of getting used to for them. But I think by the end of the day, it was way more helpful, and I was able to give pretty detailed feedback. And so really what my process ideally went through was, when and you'll see in this video, like we're going through it, I'll play the track and let them play through a few times. I'm giving a little bit of verbal feedback, and the only reason why I'm doing that is because all of mine had earbuds in, so I mean, like, it's directly to them while they're playing, and so it's not really interrupting them too much. So we're able to give direct feedback. And the second one was that you're going to see a little bit of lag between what you hear on your side and what you see from them on their side. So it's about a quarter note, maybe a quarter note delay for the most part. That's just what I was experiencing today for the most part. But really what I was allowed to do, though, was kind of look at what was happening. And what I was doing on the display up here was I would pop it out into a grid view from the beginning, and then I would start left to right, and I would you double click on their 3 little dots there on the side, and it's a spotlight view. So it would take up the full screen, and the rest of the kids would be at the top. And so that way I could isolate that one kid, and I'm like, I'd write down a note or just take a mental note. Spotlight view, next kid, spotlight view, next kid, spotlight view, next kid. And so by about the fourth or fifth rep at that tempo, I already had a lot of feedback, individual feedback to give to the students. And we would stop. I'd say, all right, bring it in. All right, what did you hear? So and so, so and so. And then I just go kid by kid, give them their information, have them write it down, and we go back. The second thing with the video stuff that's really cool is that I had, we spent the first, like say 30 or 45 minutes of the sectional time getting the students equipment set up in the right place where the teacher could give them the optimum amount of feedback on their performance based on whatever equipment they had. So like spend that time in the beginning and then tell the kids like, this is the place that you need to set your drums and your camera up in every single day that you do this. And so what we're doing here is having all that set up. That was in the beginning of it. But what that allowed too as well is like, so I would have the kids like turn down the video here, look down their strokes, and I was like telling them like, you can't, don't feel like you have to stay in the right place and, or stay in the same place the whole time, but feel free to move around and really focus on these the technical things that we're having you work on and think about, because I'm making the comments like, fix it, and you have a mirror sitting right here in front of you, use it. And so these are things that were happening throughout the course of the exercises and all that kind of stuff. So I would do that detailed thing scope first, and then I would come back again and do more general idea talking and just asking them questions about what are you hearing on your side? How does that work? The other thing that I found too with this is that I could play along with them and do demonstrations and things like that. I could play along with the recording and it didn't mess up anything that they were doing on the other side. They actually like said, thanks for playing, because it was cool to play with somebody else. So it may, since they're muted, I have them, they're all muted. None of them have their volume on. That would be disastrous. But since they're all muted, but they can hear you, that's the important part. It's just like you playing along with your teacher, okay? So I would do that, and I have like the soft gum rubber innovative pad. Something like that I felt like was pretty helpful, where there's presence there, but there's not so much articulation that it's overbearing on their end. So that was helpful. So I'll show you the video. You can see a little bit of segment of how I used it and do all that stuff. Last time? Okay, come talk to me. So playing it in inverted. What did that do? What do you think of me? What is it doing for you?
I guess it's kind of making you more aware. Like you really have to think about what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Also, in the other one, how many back-to-back accents do you have? Yeah, none. You don't. Yeah, you don't have any of them. So here, that. I actually think this variation is more like 8 on a hand than the original one. But this one also, it also really gets you focused, because there's less inner beats there than before. So you really got to place those. You really got to take your, you have to be very thoughtful about where you placing that. Especially you have those 3 accents back to back. It's just like your 8 on a hand. So you have that. That one's my favorite part. That you can really hear, because you have that back upstroke here, downstroke, tap, upstroke, downstroke, tap, right there. And that's one of the harder things to place, that one and. Okay, so this variation, it will help out tremendously when you actually do the other switch, because you're always focused on that first, that inverted note. Okay, let's try it again. Try it again, really focus on keeping it fluid. Also, just that single tap in the middle of it. All right, we good? Keep that left hand down. Hayden, don't turn around, son. Here we go.
You need to mute your microphone, dude. There you go. Let's try it again. You wonder what that little, it sounded like a little dog barking, like a little, I know, right? A little yappy dog. Here we go. Let's try it again. And cut. Okay, so come back to the front. So individually, so just tell me individually which note and or notes in this part for you are the hardest to be consistent at. The lower strokes. Okay, yeah, yes, that's a given. Specifically though, which ones?
And what's like alternating between up and down.
The up and down. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
That's the same for me. The one between the single tap and single accent pattern.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah, because you have to manage the space,
Right.
and it's not on the downbeat.
Really high.
Yep.
And
Andrew?
this one compared to the original version really makes me, I don't know about you guys, but it makes me think a lot more about the upstroke than.
That's what I was going to get at. Yes, that's also why I love doing this part because okay, since you've all been experienced, like the whole thing with last year was just getting all your hands to be able to do those things. Now let's focus on this next part. And the upstroke is also the most, to me, is a lot more of the most important thing once you kind of master the physical part of it. And that way you can also be more efficient with your energy. Does that make sense? Energy efficiency, like in the higher levels of playing snare drum, energy efficiency is the most important thing, especially when you're playing lots of notes. I mean, and that's really, lots of notes. Energy efficiency and management of space, rhythmic space. And so as we get better and as we improve this semester, those are the two things I'm going to talk about a lot, especially like the energy. It's like, how much energy are you expending on this passage versus this passage? And the reason why, and or I'll go, the reason why these two measures here are dirty is because you guys are putting all your eggs in the basket of these two measures before, that kind of thing. We'll talk about how can you be more efficient with the energy that you're using and what you're doing that's wearing your hands out. So the upstroke, I love doing this variation, and we're going to add this variation in this year too as well. For you guys and maybe even for the other ones around the thing. So, okay, so the next one, the next part of this is let's go back to the other variation, go back to the original variation, and let's see how that affects what we're doing. Cool? All right, so original variation. And mute yourself. Okay. Sticks down. Move your hand out when you're playing your tap. Your elbow, you want to move it out. Try to keep it still. Make sure you have the same amount of energy in that low end, Danny, that you do on the accents, okay? That doesn't mean bring up the height, it's just a matter of energy. Okay, so Hayden, you see what I was talking about with you're kind of moving your hand out here a little bit to compensate for that. You don't need to. Just try to be more direct. How you're going to see that though, if you turn down the screen again, whatever hand that was, your left hand, yeah. You see what I mean? So you'll strike in one area, and then you move your elbow out here to kind of move. Do you see what I'm getting at? So that happens. Sid, that's probably some of the best two height control I've seen from you, and it looks comfortable. It looks really comfortable, and that's great. Now we have to work on, that's your template. That's your template to work with. Now work on speeding, getting that to feel the same way in your hands as we start going faster, as we go through. Danny, what did I talk about with you? Yeah. Okay. So Andrew, your left hand is definitely, it's better than last year. Because last year we were dealing with a lot of this. It's definitely a lot better here.
Okay. So we did all that, and let's see, let me think. What else am I missing? What else am I missing? Oh, last thing that was really cool. So I told the kids that they could connect to the meeting on more than one device. If you had 5 devices that you wanted to connect to on, that's fine. But that way, they had a dedicated machine that was their, video one, and the one that's on a hard landline or whatever, and they wanted to do something else with audio. That's fine. But the point is that they have multiple devices so that the teacher can see them from multiple angles. So if you have a desktop computer, a laptop computer, and your phone, and you want to connect and you want to listen through your phone and set this up on your right hand and this one up on your left hand, you can do it. But the point is that the lag, there was very little lag between the dual video kids too as well. So it was really helpful. Every once in a while, the individual devices would sometimes disconnect, but it wasn't much of a problem. The other thing I recommended to the students is that they use a laptop computer or a desktop with a webcam for the class, because it's a long time and it's going to blow up your phone, and you got messages coming in, you got all this other kind of stuff coming in and out, and it just creates lag and creates issues that really they're not aware of. But the point is that, like, trying to free the distractions as much as possible. But the other part with that is making sure that they have an Ethernet connection, like the Wi-Fi connection. Yes, if that's all you have, yeah, it will do the job. But if you want a consistent connection that's stable, that will give the teacher the best feed and give the student the best as much real-time audio and feedback as possible, a hardwired Ethernet connection will always win. End of story. Okay, so that's kind of all I have. If I come up with something else, I think of something, I'll let you know. But I hope it was helpful, and I wish you guys the best of luck. And I'm trying to stay as positive as I can in this whole thing, with the hope of getting back together and making great music. I know I'm a big at some time I'm very ambitious about things, but like I believe that, like, if we stay positive, they're going to stay positive, and give them something to look forward to. And for me, it is, hey, let's make these killer skills, so that when we get back together, it's just like we get to hit the next level, and we're not starting at ground zero. So I wish you guys the best of luck. I hope this was helpful, and I'm gonna go get some sleep. See you later. Bye.